So it's the 1st of August. So for us that means that we've got roebucks obviously still in season, muntjac open all year round, fallow bucks have started after the 1st of August, and also red stags. So we're just parked up down the side of the big wood on a lovely rainy August morning. We're going to cut through the ride in the wood and just have a look at some fields, see if we can catch up with any of the bigger species, and hopefully not get too wet as well. Just seeing the thermal as we were driving up to the wood, there was a few red deer out in this little bit of grass by the reservoir, but I can't see them now, so they must have cleared off or they've gone round the back. So we've got out to the edge of the wood. Obviously it's not an overly nice morning, so there's nothing out in the open areas. We've got a big block of maize over here behind my right shoulder, so maybe they're laid up in there, or obviously maybe they've just gone back in the wood early to get out of the weather. It's sort of coming and going. It's heavy rain one minute and then it starts to ease up, so something might come and have a mooch around. It's still quite early, so we'll go back through the wood and just come around the reservoir where we saw those few moving from the vehicle in the thermal. Just have a look down the other side there, just in case there's a few hanging around. Looks like there could be a red deer down there, just meandering down the edge of the wood. It's a good few hundred metres down there, so it's whether we can get down there before it goes into the wood or not. Just come round to the far side of this reservoir from where we parked the truck up. I was hoping that some of those reds that we saw heading this way in the thermal were going to be out in this field still, but they've obviously either gone in or gone a different direction. We'll just go around the edge of the reservoir, have a look over some fields the other side, and then we'll probably have to head down into the wood and just wander about on the rides, see if we can catch anything moving around in there. The old farm machinery shaped deer. I'm just going to have a look over this edge. So it's all quiet out here on these fields, so we'll just keep heading around the reservoir, just cut through the wood again where we just looked first thing, just have a look on those fields again just in case something's wandering about, and then we'll probably head into the wood and just stalk up and down on those rides a bit. just looking around the edge of a little bit of wood that sticks out into the field. There's a few stags feeding towards us. We can't really go out any further because we'll be too exposed, they'll see us. So we'll just go back on the edge of the wood and just see if they'll drift across in front of us. So we've got the first stag on the left, he's got clean antlers already. All the others are still in velvet. So remember generally that the older ones, they grow their antlers first and they clean their antlers first. A couple of spikers just coming at the back. Stag knows what's up. There's a spiker there with really small antlers, so we'll just go for him. Is that one on its own, the single one? There you go. So we had those big stags coming along there, and then usually you do get some young ones following along with them, and obviously we just waited in this bracken. The wind was good because it's coming from them to us, and as I'd hoped, there was 2 or 3 sort of spikers in there with them, so we just picked out one which was obviously a bit smaller antlers than the other spikers that were there, about 80 metres in the end. Some of the older stags, they kind of knew that something wasn't quite right, but they've gone running off, and then they'll circle round, come back in the wood. Quite often when it stops raining, they'll come out and just, you know, in the dry, move across to another area. So, good result. Wandering around in the pouring rain for an hour or so. Let's give it a few minutes, then we'll go and have a look. So we've got some blood here now. It was actually stood a little bit further back over there, but we've got a bit of a trail going through here, so we can just follow this along. Hopefully, should be just in front of us somewhere, around about 150 metres I think. Quite often when you're blood trailing, it's easier to look sort of 6 foot in front of you rather than looking right down on the ground, and then you see the blood against the undergrowth. Here it is. Good. So this is the exit side, so I went in sort of just on the shoulder. Yeah, compared to the others that were there. It just hasn't got very big antlers, but nothing really wrong with it. It's got quite a nice spread to it. In a lot of ways it probably would have been better to take one that was narrower, but of the ones we were looking at in the heat of the moment, that was the obvious one to take, so unfortunately that one got it. Great, good result for getting soaked for the morning. So we just thought, as we've got this spiker here now with its antlers still in velvet, we just sort of talk a little bit about that. Velvet is obviously the term for the covering on the antlers as they're growing, and that's what supplies all the blood to the antler as it grows. You can see this one's still got a bit more growing to do, probably up till like the end of August really. It's got quite soft ends on it, so maybe it'll come up a little bit further, and obviously they'll grow into a little bit of a point. But it literally just feels like velvet, and then what happens is when the antler gets fully grown, the blood supply is cut off at the pedicles here, and then that velvet and the living bone effectively dies off, and then it becomes hard antler. So yeah, it's quite interesting stuff. If you want to try and preserve a set of antlers with the velvet on there, you can do. You have to be quite careful when you boil it up, because it'll obviously start to peel away from the bottom of the antlers. The only thing to bear in mind is it does attract quite a lot of moths to it that come and eat it. So if you've got a lot of taxidermy stuff around it, it's probably best not to keep your velvet covered antlers anywhere near it. So right, we'll get this one picked up. You can see this crop's quite thin here where it's close to the edge of the wood, and the red deer have done quite a lot of damage to it, just trampling it around and eating it, as have our sort of 80 odd peacocks that we've got running around as well. So I think we'll probably be able to drive up to this one without doing too much more damage, which will obviously make it easier for us. Quite often when you're dragging these reds off a field in a crop, you do more damage if you drag them off than if you just drive the trailer up the tram line and back it up to it. So we'll head back, get this one picked up and sorted out. It's wetter than an otter's pocket this morning. So we've been using the, this is the 3006 again now. So I swapped the barrel over yesterday, just took it down the range and checked zero on it, because I haven't shot it since I think maybe the end of April. And then we've got the big Swarovski DS scope on it, which gives us the bullet drops if it's anything over 100 meters or there is a bullet drop. And then these are Seiko copper rounds. Yeah, so there we go. Head back home and get the trailer, get that picked up, and try and dry the kit out eventually. So obviously we've got our electric winch, which doesn't want to work this morning. So I need to get that down the workshop and get that serviced before obviously the autumn comes on proper. But that's why we left the old hand winch on here for the odd occasion where the electric winch goes on strike. So that's all us finished up at the larder. Got the red spiker carcass sorted out, weighs 72 kilos as a carcass, so it's about an average weight really. It looked quite a small one, but obviously when you've got those bigger stags next to it, it's always going to make it look a lot smaller. It's been a pretty wet morning out there. Everything got soaked, but obviously good kit that I'm wearing has kept me dry underneath. So come back next time, it'll be September when we'll be out. So could be for, well, anything still, muntjac, roebucks, red, fallow. We'll see how we get on.